Do you get a briefing prior to taking the role that this will change your life in terms of the people that are going to demand it from you for the rest of your life?
I don't know. I don't know whether it's just the way that we individually live our lives or the context in which this movie exists as opposed to the original series. But I don't really find it to be intrusive. I found the fans to be supportive and encouraging.
Well, you know, the goal was not to make a darker sequel, honestly. It was to make a movie that was sort of a thrilling adventure ride. And the idea was to treat it like its own thing. You know, a standalone movie. You don't have to have seen the first film we did. You don't have to have seen, you know, the original series. If you did, you'll be rewarded with references and things. But the goal was just to sort of make a movie that works on its own terms. A lot of sequels tend to assume that you know and care about what's going on, and so that was really important that we sort of treat it from a sort of ground-up point of view.
Right.
And there is darkness in the movie. You are up against a pretty intense, terrifying bad guy played by Benedict Cumberbatch. But I think that the approach for this movie was really, you know, make characters that make you laugh, make you feel that you really care about, so that when they go into this sort of dark, extreme situation, you know, you feel like it's you, that you're going into it.
Right.
Tell us about the character in this. There's a bit of mystery here, is there not? Or a bit of secrecy?
He's basically a one-man weapon of mass destruction. His name is John Harrison, and he's a terrorist, and he has good reason, and you'll see what that is in the film.
Good reason for him? A justifiable
cause, exactly. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom.
And is he somebody that we know from the Star Trek films?
He's someone that you will get to know in this film, and I can't wait for people to discover who he is and what he does and why he does.
Also, there will be a discovery unveiled in the film.
Of what I do in the film, yes.
Yes. The identity of your character
is John Harrison.
Right. No offense to the rest of the cast, but you really don't need much more than you. I mean, honest to God.
Actor Leonard Nimoy has died. He was 83. Wow, that picture says it all. He has been part of really iconic Hollywood for so many years. His years on Star Trek, then on the movies as well. Such a superstar in that role. 83 years old, he died at his home in Los Angeles, the area of Bel Air. His wife Susan confirming that a short time ago. We did know from reporting that he was at end stage of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
And this morning we are remembering a beloved actor who became an enduring fixture in pop culture. Leonard Nimoy, who starred as the emotionless, pointy-eared Vulcan, Mr. Spock on Star Trek.
Words from William Shatner. I loved him like a brother. We will all miss his humor, his talent, and his capacity to love. The tweets and tributes coming from all around the world, multiple generations of colleagues, ardent fans, and those he inspired, on screen and in space, all honoring Leonard Nimoy.
I see no reason for answers to be couched in riddles.
Star Trek's pointy-eared Vulcan, Mr. Spock, second in command on the Starship Enterprise. Nimoy starred as Spock through 3 primetime seasons back in the 1960s. In a decade of emotion and upheaval, a compelling figure of pure reason.
Most illogical reaction.
He'd returned to the character in a series of Star Trek feature films. 1982's The Wrath of Khan would feature a tearful tribute from Shatner's Captain Kirk.
Of all the souls I have encountered in my travels, his was the most human.
He was a brilliantly innovative actor, but he also worked collaboratively. He recognized the important contributions made by everybody. And I think that's what made him a good director as well. And since we had been working together for a long time, as a director, he could speak to us in shorthand. So his many, many gifts included his ability to work with many people.
Well, of course, your iconic second in command, Leonard Nimoy, passed away. Favorite memories?
The laughs we shared were incredible. I've got a picture at home of Leonard double over with laughter. That laughter will remain.
Listen to what he had to say about you back in 2009. Listen to this.
Why the enduring friendship? We're like brothers. We went through a very long and interesting and tumultuous process together. I consider him like a brother to me. We're very close.
A brother. I never had a brother. I never had a friend like that. it's a tough one to lose.
Did you have a chance to say goodbye?
Not really. Not really. I sent him an email at the very end telling him to be happy that he was loved.
He directed the hugely successful comedy 3 Men and a Baby.
Good night, sweetheart.
He wrote books of poetry, took photographs, even sang fearlessly. In 2007, he met President Obama, a Spock fan, who recalled on Friday greeting Nimoy with the Vulcan salute and Spock's words, "Live long and prosper," the same famous words that concluded Nimoy's final tweet.
And his character on Star Trek showed no emotion because he was a Vulcan. That was his character. He played it well. But obviously you knew him differently. You knew him as a man. You knew his heart and his soul. What was he really like?
He was a great friend, very supportive. He played Dysart in Equus on Broadway, and I did the same role in Los Angeles at the East West Players. He came down to see me in it.
Yes.
And it was a little daunting to know that he was in the audience because he was so brilliant in it on Broadway. So when he came backstage, I said to him, "Well, how'd I do?" And he smiled that wry smile of his and said, "You are better." Now, obviously, that was his very charming way of avoiding the question. But he had that kind of wit about him in a situation
and
like
kindness.
that.
And you talk about how he often greeted people with the Spock phrase, "Live long and prosper." He took that to heart?
Oh, yes, he did. I mean, so much of, for example, the Vulcan greeting was something that he introduced. It comes from his Jewish faith.
Leonard Nimoy died in Los Angeles on Friday at the age of 83.
Space, the final frontier. I want to touch everything. I boldly went where no woman has gone before.
Move over, Captain Kirk.
Exploring a strange new world behind the scenes of Star Trek Beyond.
It's really good, to be back after a couple years, and I love this group.
You really want to head back out there, huh?
The beloved characters are back for the 13th film in the sci-fi series.
It's the beginning of our 5-year mission, and we're a little world-weary. We have a great new villain.
We're exploring new territory, and to me, that was always the very spirit of Star Trek.
Absolutely.
It was about space exploration. It was about mankind operating on a level of its, highest moral capacity.
Next generation of Trekkies eager to embark on this latest mission.
My mom is like a huge Trekkie, so
Seriously?
yeah, I didn't even know that until I was an adult and I was doing a movie where I had to play a Trekkie, and she was like, "Oh my god,
I know all about this. I've
Yeah,
been to
she
the
totally
convention.
geeked out on me.
There are young people who I meet, kids that watch the original series who are now grown up, and many of whom have gone into professions based upon, imagining themselves flying the Enterprise.
People don't know what to do with their thumb. It's not in, it's not like that, and it's not out. It's kind of like a...
In the middle?
Yeah, I like to do it in the middle. Live long and prosper, right?
Live long and prosper. The cast meeting a lucky Omaze winner, spending the day on set. And then it was my turn. Unbelievable. I reported for duty in the USS Enterprise.
How do we see Kirk evolve?
I think the first films were very much Spock and Kirk-centric, but this time it seems like everybody, there's a dispersal of the prime elements of Star Trek, and it's about seeking the home base.
There's a moment in the script where they separate, and we felt like the Kirk-Spock dynamic had been explored quite a lot in the first two movies, and myself and Doug Jung, my co-writer, always loved the dynamic between Bones and Spock because they are opposites. They're like the devil and the angel on Kirk's shoulders.
Yes, sir.
And to put them together in sort of perilous situations felt like a gift to do.
You and Zach have a lot of scenes together.
Yeah, we do.
What's going on with that?
It's great. You know, we're having a lot of fun together, and you know, the fun thing about it is you get the polarity of those two characters that are quite often, you know, chalk and cheese against each other, and you throw them into the deep end.
This film takes place 2 years into a 5-year mission, and Kirk is feeling the pressure.
How are we gonna get out of this one?
There's just a lot of big questions for Kirk, especially. He's not a young man, at least as defined by the first film. He's not dealing with as many, I think, rage issues or having to prove himself. He's been there, he's done that, he's in it, he is the captain, and he's looking around and thinking, what next, what now?
Now to the tragic death of actor Anton Yelchin, best known for playing Chekhov in the new Star Trek movies. The young star killed in a car accident in his own driveway. ABC's Matt Gutman has more on this heartbreaking story. Matt, good morning.
Good morning, Amy. Police are telling us that it was a freak accident. Yelchin, whose career began as a child actor 15 years ago, was found dead and alone just outside his home here, pinned between his SUV and his home security gate in the early hours of Sunday morning.
Hollywood in mourning today as a freak accident cut down rising star Anton Yelchin.
All systems nominal, Captain.
The 27-year-old with the corkscrew hair was known primarily for his role as
Mr. Chekhov
in the hugely successful reboot of Star Trek, a third installment of which is out this summer. He was known in the industry as being as intellectual as the Russian character he portrayed. Yelchin was found dead outside his home in LA's Studio City shortly after 1 a.m. Sunday morning. When he didn't show up for a rehearsal, friends went to his house. They found him pinned between his SUV and this metal gate. You can see the bent bars. Authorities believe Yelchin momentarily exited his Jeep Grand Cherokee while pulling out of his steep driveway. Police say the car was found in neutral.
I mean, the smartest of all of us, I'm sure. The kind of purest artist among us, I think, in so many ways. He inspired all of us all the time. I was constantly looking at him with just like I don't know, I was always so motivated by his vast interests and his laugh. I mean, he was just such a great guy, you know. He made everything fun, and also his work. I mean, he just did such beautiful work in these movies, of course, but, you know, outside of these movies, his body of work for such a young actor was so impressive. And, you know, I feel like the great tragedy of his loss, aside from the personal one for all of us, is certainly that we don't get to see what he would have done, you know? And we do get to see, I think, 5 movies that he still has that haven't come out yet. And, you know, he was so about to be just sort of like launched in so many ways. But
we always knew that because of the loss of Leonard, that there would be a kind of element of heartbreak associated with the release of this movie. We had no idea just how devastating it would be. The loss of Anton makes no sense at all, and he was, and it's insane talking about him in the past tense, but he was a brilliant, incredibly funny, self-aware, nutty, great kid. I mean, I cast him when he was 18 years old in the first film that we did, and it makes no sense that he isn't here. And I know it's true. We all know it's true, but none of us can really process that.
This is still very raw for us, you know. It doesn't feel right to be talking about Anton in the past tense. He was such an amazing kid, a brilliant, brilliant actor, always the smartest guy in the room. Yep. And it doesn't make any sense to us, you know. And I even now I haven't processed it, and I see him up there on the screen. And when you see the movie, please be happy, because
He loved what he did.
and he'll live forever, you know. You see him up there, and he's not going anywhere. You're almost lucky in a way if you didn't meet Anton, because for you nothing has changed. You'll always see Anton. For us, we've lost somebody we love and cared about, and it's never.
It's irreplaceable, yes.
Yeah.